Welcome, sixth grade, to your first History Flip classroom. We are going to cram packed as much as we can into this screencast-o-matic. You will probably have two videos, so please be aware of that, where the cutoff is. Please be using your Google Slides or your PowerPoints as we go through these, because you may need to make a couple little notes. So here's the deal. I'm going to fly through it. I'm going to hit the high points on all of the information you need to know. So it's going to be fast-paced, so stay with me. Okay, so we're going to start with France and the Benelux countries. This is Chapter 12, Section 3. We've already talked a little bit about the French history, the French Revolution, and you watched a brain pop on that with the guillotine and the decapitation, so we know most of this already. So we know that Marie Antoinette and King Louis were the last king and queen of France. And the French Revolution, it starts July 14th, 1789, where just your peasants really kind of take over and kill most of the aristocrats. This brings France into a democracy, but shortly after that, it collapses again with Napoleon Bonaparte becoming an emperor and turning it back into a monarchy. And then another Napoleon coming in and doing essentially the same thing. So that's kind of the French history. Let's look at France today. France today is a parliamentary democracy. They have a president and a prime minister. You're going to see this a lot throughout the European countries, having a president and a prime minister, or a prime minister and a chancellor. So the French government is a parliamentary democracy. They have spread their powers across the executive and judicial branches. They are the world's leading export of farm produce, and that's because of this area right here. The northern European plains kind of stretches into that northern part of France, and they have really rich soil. So most of the produce, farm produce that's going out in Europe, is coming from France. Sometimes my screencast-o-matic gets a little stuck, so we move back and forth. Mostly what you need to know on this slide is the capital of Paris. The Eiffel Tower is in Paris, which is in France, and their capital is Paris. You also know the Seine River is also in France. Next slide, Tour de France. You can pop over to the actual slide if you would like. And check out this video. You can't watch this video now because you're in a different program, but the slide should be posted. If you'd like to watch that video, pop on over there and watch that PowerPoint, or that video, GoPro video. Okay, so the Benelux countries. The Benelux countries are just a union, an economic union that makes trade easier between these really tiny countries. It's the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. You can see at the top we've got Belgium is represented here with BE, Netherlands is represented here with NE, and then Luxembourg is represented with LUX. They are part of the European Union. The Netherlands, the important part here is that they have these things called polders. This is drained land. So the Netherlands are really densely populated. It's packed with lots of people, but almost half of their land is below sea level. So they have to drain that land and make sure that the water stays off of that land. They do that by using canals, dams, different pumping systems. Even these windmills play a role in kind of drying that land out and pumping the water out. And so their dried land that they were able to regain are called polders. And their capital is Amsterdam. You will have to know all of the capitals for all of the countries that we have covered. Belgium, their capital is Brussels. That's all you really need to know about Belgium. They're tiny. They can trade easily with European countries because they're really smack dab right there in the middle. But it's also been a disadvantage, especially during the World Wars. They were devastated. Their land was really devastated. Luxembourg. So Luxembourg is going to break away from the Netherlands in the 1890s, and they become their own country, but they're considered a duchy. A duchy is just a country that's ruled by a duke or duchess. They are considered multilingual. You can see here they have 3 official languages. They use French in the government, so if you work in government, you are talking French all day. If you are reading the newspaper, you are reading it in German, but if you are just talking every day with your friends and your family, you are using Luxembourgish. So each section has a wrap-up. Here is the wrap-up for this section. These are the things you really need to hone into when you are checking my time, sorry. When you are studying for this, this is what you need to hone into, these wrap-up sections. Okay, Germany and the Alpine countries. This one we will move fast because there is a ton that you need to know in here. Okay, so originally Germany was a bunch of little states that were a collection together, and Prussia was the leading power in that. Well, Prussia collapses, and Germany becomes its own country. Awesome. So after World War I, Germany's economy is weakened, and territories are reduced. People are frustrated with being poor, and many Germans begin to support the fascist Nazi Party. This term should look familiar to you because you covered it with Mussolini in Italy. And so the Nazi Party takes power, promising that they can turn Germany back into this world power that it was before World War I. The leader of the Nazi Party is Adolf Hitler. He takes power in the 1930s, 1933-ish. He starts to mass murder Jews and any other ethnic minorities. So the disabled, blacks, Asians, anybody that wasn't your white Aryan race, he was mass murdering, and this was called the Holocaust. The Holocaust starts in Germany, and then it spreads throughout the lands that Hitler is able to occupy and take over. That was a really brief history on Germany, but those are the high points. The big part of what I want you to know is what you're going to come to class needing to know for your activity on Thursday. So Germany is divided into 4 zones. The Soviet Union, which is now Russia, takes one zone. Great Britain, France, and America. So these 3 guys right here turn West Germany into the democratic West Germany, where the Soviet Union becomes East Germany, and they make it a communist state. So we have this capital right here of Germany, Berlin. They're also going to divide Berlin in half. Here's a picture of now just Berlin. So we've kind of close up of just Berlin. West Berlin is going to be controlled by Britain, Europe, and France, just like West Germany is, and then Russia, or aka the Soviet Union, is going to take East Berlin. Well, in the 1960s, the East Germany government, Soviet Union, starts to build the Berlin Wall. The purpose of this Berlin Wall was to keep people from escaping into democratic West Germany. A lot of people were fleeing this area over here, communist East Berlin. We're going into West Berlin and then out of West Berlin into democratic West Germany. And most of these people were doctors and teachers and lawyers, high-paid positions that really East Berlin and East Germany needed to keep their country going. So they build a wall around West Berlin. We're going to talk about why they build a wall around West Berlin and why we allow that in class on Thursday. If you'd like to, Google some things and try and figure it out before you come into class. In the late 1980s, Soviet Union collapses, and along with the Soviet Union collapse comes the collapse of communism for Germany. And so so the wall comes down. We're going to watch videos. It's all cool, lots of cheering. It's awesome. In the 1990s, Germany decides to reunify, and they come together, and they are what we know of as Germany today. Okay, so German culture. Big high points here. The capital is Berlin, which you need to know. Germany has the largest population in Western Europe, and in the 1990s, more Americans reported their ancestry coming from Germany than any other country, which is really fascinating. Ask your parents right now what your ancestry is. I bet it is going to be German, or there's some German in it. Quickly, Germany has a president and a chancellor. Chancellor Merkel was actually just in the United States talking to President Bush just the other day. Okay, so your Alpine countries. I'm going to check our time here. Alpine countries. You've got, they get their name because they all share the Alps, basically. It's Austria, Switzerland, and another little tiny guy, Liechtenstein. They all share a border with themselves, and they all touch Germany, so they've been highly influenced by Germany, and they were all part of the Holy Roman Empire. This has absolutely nothing to do with the Roman Empire or being holy. This has to do with some kings during the Middle Ages kind of forming a bond with the Catholic Church. So it's not the Roman Empire you know of in the last chapter. This is totally different, just given it's kind of a crazy name. So let's see, what do we need to know for Austria? Not much for Austria, but you do need to know, let's see if it will let me switch sides. You need to know Austria's capital, Vienna. We are going to come across a lot of these countries that are going to become neutral now after World War I and World War II. So Austria actually fought in World War I, was in the wrong side of it, and separated from what was Austria-Hungary Empire, and now it's just Austria and Hungary. You do not need to know that, so I apologize for my rant. They have a president and a chancellor, also part of the European Union. Switzerland, you need to know that they are known for their high quality chocolate and watches. How fun is that? This is a beautiful picture. I do want you to take count of the pictures that are in here. I hope that after you watch this, you go, oh man, I want to go to all these countries. So their capital is Bern. Liechtenstein, they're a constitutional monarchy, and they're famous for postage stamps, and you need to know their capital. Okay, there is your wrap up. This is going to be the end of video 1, and I will do the Nordic countries on video 2. So make sure you pop over to video 2.